Void Mage Gamer is now partnered with Flipside Gaming, so you can use the promo code on their website, all caps Void Mage, to get 10% off all orders $10 or more. It's a great way that you can support both Flipside Gaming and Void Mage Gamer's channel. Also, until October 7th, all orders that use the promo code will be automatically entered to win a booster box of Guilds of Ravnica. Entries are limited one per person just to keep things fair, so be sure to check that out. Hello guys, welcome back to another Commander deck tech video. This time we're going back to Guilds of Ravnica, going over some of the newer legendary creature options for this deck tech. This is going to be the last video where I pull off some options strictly from this set, and my patrons over on Patreon, they decided to go with Emmara, Soul of the Accord. If you want to get in on this action, you can vote in whatever legendary creature you want me to do. It's also a great way to support my channel. The link to my Patreon will be in the description below. Emmara is a Celestia colored 2 mana 2/2 legendary elf cleric. Whenever she becomes tapped, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Very linear right off the bat, not very inspiring. However, there are some pretty cool ways that you can tap creatures, and right off the bat from the set, the keyword Convoke does come to mind. If you're looking for something massive and you have the buy a box promo, Impervious Great Worm, that one is really devastating. If you're able to get that out there, you have a 16/16 indestructible for only really 10 mana, which in this deck, Convoke is going to make it much cheaper for us. Or Emmara is going to make us some tokens that are going to tap. So that is immediately the first thing that came to mind here. If you want to look back to the original Emmara from Dragon Maze, she was 7 mana, a 5/7 that prevented all damage that would be dealt to creature tokens you control. While she is pretty expensive, she is somewhat worth putting in here just because the majority of our creature presence is going to be in the form of tokens. So if you want to go on flavor alone, I think Emmara is pretty good. But going back to Convoke, it's definitely going to be something you want to focus on. Any sort of way that you can tap Emmara without actually having to go to combat, and tapping her that way I think is pretty important. Even if it's just something good for utility, using the new Sprouting Renewal as removal for artifacts and enchantments. You could also use Sundering Vitae, pretty much going to do the same exact thing but at instant speed. Convoking your creatures is pretty good if you have a utility reason to do it. But there are also a ton of good Convoke cards that are playable within Commander, such as Court of Calling, probably the most well-known Convoke card, been around since the original Ravnica set. If there are any complaints with Guilds of Ravnica, it's that when it comes to the Celestia Guild, they weren't too creative, they just brought back a really old keyword, but it's still a good one here, and Court of Calling is definitely playable in Commander. And you also have the insanity that is Hour of Reckoning, being able to destroy all non-token creatures. Yeah, you may end up getting rid of your own Emmara, but she is only 2 mana, so keep in mind, it's only going to cost you 4 mana to get her out there the second time. And you're going to be destroying all non-token creatures, so whatever tokens you put all the effort into making are still going to be there. And Convoke is going to make it a much cheaper board wipe than 7 mana. But on top of this, you have some awesome Convoke cards like Return to the Ranks from M15, any sort of way that you can get back creatures from your graveyard. Cheap ones, we're playing Risk the Redeemed, Celestia Evangel, things that are probably going to end up in the graveyard, so we can bring those back pretty easily, and we can get back to making more creature tokens. We also have a couple fogs in here because fogs are pretty underrated in Commander. We have Pause for Reflection, and we have Chant of Vitu-Ghazi. Preventing combat damage is really sweet. With Chant of Vitu-Ghazi, you can gain 1 life for each damage that would be prevented, keeping you in the game much longer, and also tapping your Emmara and tapping your creatures, using them as a resource. It's just amazing. Now, since you're getting a ton of creatures out there, one of the things you're going to want to focus on is Anthems. Anthems are important with tokens. Without Anthems, it's just so easy to run over them with Trample, and they don't really amount to much. So you need things like Intangible Virtue, Mirari's Wake, Collective Blessing, Elish Norn. Anything that can make your tokens much bigger is always going to be a good thing, and you could throw in a Cathar's Crusade, because anytime you make a creature, it's going to enter the battlefield. All of your creatures are going to get +1/+1 counters. It's going to be very difficult for your opponents to stop you at that point. And with the new card Divine Visitation, any token you're going to be making is going to be a 4/4 White Angel creature token instead. So look forward to that synergy. It's from the same set too. And since we're going to be in Celestia colors, we have access to both Anointed Procession and Parallel Lives. Two very good cards with creature token decks. You're going to be getting double that many tokens, which is always going to be a headache for your opponents. Your deck's going to be much quicker at that point. Now we go on to combo time. This is very cool. If you're unfamiliar with the card Paradox Engine, it is pretty busted with almost every single deck it's in. Paradox Engine with the card Sprout Swarm is pretty much an infinite combo depending on how many creatures you have at the time. If you have enough, you could pretty much just get infinite Saproling creature tokens, and then if you have anything like a Craterhoof Behemoth, you could just make a crazy large creature. Even if it is just Craterhoof Behemoth, you have a massive one that's going to be swinging at your opponents with Trample. The only problem with this combo is that your creatures are probably not going to have haste, but I definitely think it's worth noting. But as always, guys, I'm going to be linking this entire deck list in the description below. It'll be to my tapped out. So if you want to see my entire deck for Emmara Soul of the Accord, it will be down there below. Go check it out. She is pretty linear, but I think if you're able to abuse her with something like an Honor-Worn Shaku or a Springleaf Drum, just to get some mana out there early on for your setup, you have an excuse to tap her that doesn't involve combat. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty underrated. As always, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.